For over 2 millennia, the Galactic Military Academy had measured pain. Not metaphorical discomfort. Not psychological stress. Pain, raw, neurological, absolute. Entire civilizations had been categorized, ranked, and assigned roles based on how much agony their bodies could endure before breaking. The data shaped wars, medical protocols, and battlefield doctrine across known space. Dr. Zelrian had overseen thousands of these evaluations. Predator species with reinforced nervous systems. Monastic cultures trained from birth to suppress sensation. Armored giants whose biology rejected shock entirely. None of them had unsettled him. Until the human. Cadet Elias Rowan stood alone in the neural assessment chamber, hands clasped behind his back, posture relaxed. He looked more like someone waiting for a briefing than a subject about to experience the Academy's most feared examination. Zelrian studied him through the observation window. Average height. Moderate musculature. No visible augmentations. A soft-skinned biped from a middle-gravity world that, until recently, had barely stepped beyond its own star. "You understand the purpose of this test," Zelrian said, his translator converting harmonic clicks into standard speech. "We are determining your species' neurological pain threshold. This will affect deployment eligibility and medical classification." "Yes, Doctor," Rowan replied easily. "Ready whenever." Commander Varkesh, an armored insectoid whose kind ruled the Academy's combat divisions, clicked his mandibles in quiet amusement. "They always sound confident at first." Zelrian nodded. "Begin at level 1. The neural lattice activated, bypassing peripheral nerves and injecting pain signals directly into the brain. Level 1 simulated severe surface burns across a fifth of the body, enough to incapacitate most species within seconds." Rowan inhaled. His jaw tightened. That was all. 10 seconds passed. Then 30. Then a full minute. Vitals scrolled across the display. Elevated heart rate. Cortisol spike. Pain centers fully active. No panic. No error detected, the technician murmured. Varkesh leaned forward. "Increase intensity." Zelrian hesitated only a moment before signaling level 2. The sensation escalated instantly: compound fractures, deep burns, systemic trauma across nearly half the body. Rowan's breathing deepened. Sweat formed at his temples. His hands clenched, forearm muscles standing out beneath his uniform. Still, he did not fall. 2 minutes passed. 3. Zelrian felt unease creep into his thoughts. He should be screaming. Rowan glanced toward the observation window. His voice carried clearly through the chamber. "Sorry," he said. "Just checking, are we starting now, or is this still the warm-up?" Silence flooded the control room. Commander Varkesh's armored carapace bristled in disbelief. "Explain that," he demanded. Zelrian stared at the data, tendrils twitching. "The pain is registering. Fully. His neural centers are responding exactly as expected." "Then why is he still standing?" "Proceed to level 3, Varkesh ordered." Zelrian turned. "Commander, level 3 exceeds the tolerance of every known biological entity. Even the Carrick's champions lasted only 8 seconds, Varkesh finished. "Yes. I remember. Proceed." The chamber darkened as the neural lattice surged to maximum output. Level 3 simulated catastrophic trauma, organ failure, skeletal collapse, nerve overload so extreme most species lost consciousness through protective shock alone. Rowan's body locked rigid. A sharp exhale forced its way past clenched teeth. Veins stood out along his neck. His face flushed, then drained pale, then flushed again as his cardiovascular system fought imaginary devastation. 5 seconds. 10. 20. Zelrian's tendrils froze. He should be unconscious. At 30 seconds, Rowan's knees bent slightly. Tremors ran through his legs. Varkesh clicked in satisfaction. There. He breaks. But Rowan did not fall. He straightened. The shaking slowed. His breathing steadied through sheer force of will. At 45 seconds, he spoke. Is there a higher setting? The control room erupted. Zelrian's translator stuttered, uncertain it had parsed the words correctly. Repeat that. Rowan swallowed, sweat dripping from his brow. If there's a level 4, that's fine. Just wanted to know the full range. Terminate the test, Zelrian snapped. The neural lattice powered down instantly. Rowan sagged, only slightly, then rolled his shoulders and shook out his arms like an athlete cooling down. Aside from sweat-soaked fabric and a faint tremor in his hands, he looked intact. Varkesh approached the chamber, towering over the human. How? Rowan considered the question honestly. Football injuries. Construction work. Military training. You get hurt, but the job still needs doing. He shrugged. Plus, most of this felt familiar. Familiar? Zelrian echoed. Rowan nodded. Pain's just information. It tells you something's wrong. Doesn't mean you have to panic about it. The medical team exchanged stunned glances. Zelrian began reviewing historical files, tendrils moving rapidly. Human medical history indicates extensive exposure to severe pain without anesthetic for much of their development. Dental procedures, the technician added quietly. Childbirth. Surgery. Varkesh went still. They didn't evolve avoiding pain, he said slowly. They evolved expecting it. The room felt smaller after that realization. Zelrian replayed the neural data, overlaying it with human historical records. Patterns emerged that unsettled him more than any anomaly ever had. Pain tolerance was not an exception for humans. It was a baseline. Your species normalized agony, he said carefully. Rowan shrugged again, clearly unaware of the weight behind the words. Guess you could say that. Commander Varkesh folded his bladed forelimbs behind his back. We classified humans as adaptable generalists. Useful, but unremarkable. Zelrian's tendrils rippled. That classification is obsolete. He turned back to the console and began updating the Academy database in real time. Species, human. Pain threshold, exceeds known biological maximums. Shock response, suppressible. Recovery time, anomalously short. Varkesh watched the human closely. You were experiencing full neurological trauma. Why didn't you stop? Rowan hesitated. Because stopping wouldn't make it stop. And because I knew it wasn't real damage. Most species cannot separate perception from reality under pain, Zelrian said. Rowan smiled faintly. We learn early. Sometimes you don't get a choice. Silence followed that. Finally, Varkesh straightened. Cadet Elias Rowan. Effective immediately, you are reassigned to Special Operations Training. Rowan blinked. Yes, sir. As he turned to leave, Zelrian noticed something curious. The human's hands still trembled, barely, but he kept them at his sides, controlled, unseen. After the chamber sealed, Varkesh exhaled slowly. What have we brought into this academy? Zelrian's tendrils curled in what might have been amusement. A species that treats suffering as a background condition. The technician added quietly, and one that keeps functioning anyway. In the central database, a permanent annotation was attached to humanity's profile, one that would follow them into every negotiation, every deployment, every war. Pain does not deter. It informs. The galaxy had long believed survival favored strength, speed, or armor. Humanity had survived another way. By refusing to stop when every nerve screamed that they should. The implications spread faster than any official announcement. Within days, academy instructors quietly adjusted their expectations. Human cadets were monitored more closely, not out of fear they would fail, but fear they would push themselves beyond safe limits without complaint. Medical staff rewrote protocols. Sedatives were recalibrated. Emergency thresholds doubled, then doubled again. Zelrian stood alone in the observation wing, reviewing reports from human training exercises. Endurance runs completed despite torn muscle fibers. Combat simulations sustained far past injury warnings. Recovery periods used for additional drills. Stubborn, Barkesh muttered beside him. Persistent, Zelrian corrected. They watched as Rowan completed a zero-gravity stress trial, teeth clenched, eyes focused, body shaking but unyielding. He knows when he's hurt, Barkesh said. He simply refuses to let it decide for him. Zelrian closed the file. That may be the most dangerous trait a species can possess. Elsewhere in the galaxy, the Academy's database update propagated through military networks. Strategic planners took notice. So did medics. So did governments who suddenly realized that humans could occupy roles once considered biologically impossible. Deep space boarding actions. Hazard containment. Long-duration operations under extreme conditions. Places where pain was not a possibility, but a certainty. And humans would go anyway. In his quarters, Elias Rowan stretched sore muscles and checked the training schedule. Endurance run tomorrow. He sighed. Figures, he muttered. Mom would have loved this. He lay back on his bunk, ignoring the ache that settled into his bones. Pain lingered, dull and insistent. Information, he reminded himself. Outside, far beyond Earth, the galaxy was learning the same lesson, slowly, uneasily, and with growing concern. Humans did not conquer pain. They simply refused to let it tell them when to quit.